Welcome back to another episode of TVGP's Game Club. This month we played Gris, which thankfully Musum sent a video so I could figure out is it the Spanish or the French pronunciation of it. Turns out it's Spanish, so Gris. I'm your host Boston. Played this on the PlayStation 5, joined as always by Moonpier.
Hello, I've been calling it Gris because I grew up in England, which is next to France.
Right.
It's also next to Spain. Don't tell anybody that.
That's right. Yeah. Well, we are from the U.S. We don't know geography. What platform did you play it on?
Xbox Series X.
And also joined by Musum.
Steam Deck.
Let's talk about the deets about this game. Was released originally on December 13th, 2018, and then kind of over the months and years all the way up until December 13th of 2022, when it came out on Xbox One Series consoles, and PlayStation 5. Sort of came out on pretty much everything, including Luna. Published by Devolver Digital, developed by Nomada Studio. Platforms, as I mentioned, were pretty much everything. Time travel here, Metacritic 83, OpenCritic 86. Peers for the original release date, Darksiders 3, which is a game I forgot came out. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, very similar games. Fallout 76, the original release of that. Hitman 2, Tetris Effect, and Astrobot Rescue Mission. That was the first Astrobot game, the VR one. We're going to ask the question we ask every month, which is this game top of the pile, middle of the pack, or overlooked? Everybody all at once. Top of the pile.
Top of
the pile. Yep.
I don't think we've played a game as critically celebrated and sort of award celebrated as this one in a while. This was on.
When you get to make a sequel and it says from the makers of Gris,
yes.
That tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the game itself. What we liked, what we didn't like. Actually, real quick before we get to that, because we're going to get into some spoilers of this game, as we always do. Our next game is Citizen Sleeper 2. So that's coming out here shortly after the release of this episode on PS5, Series consoles, PC, and Mac OS.
Yes, and we're also pushing back recording by a week.
Yeah,
so don't expect the regular time frame.
Yeah, to give all of us and you a chance to play it, we're going to be a week later than usual for February. Also, it's on Game Pass at time of recording, so go check that out. Citizen Sleeper 2. All right, let's talk about Gris. What did we like? What didn't we like? Who would like to start us off, as I say like again?
I mean, it looks incredible.
Yeah, the like smoke effects in the background during the very strong wind areas, that's just like real footage, right? That's not
this is 100% all watercolor painting, dude.
Yeah,
it's insane.
It's really I've seen footage of this game before, and I felt like I knew what it looked like. And the further I got in this game, I was like, man, I don't think I've seen any of this stuff in this game. I've seen the cover with her face on it, but beyond that, I was like, dang, this game looks incredible.
Yeah. It really holds up. I mean, so I originally played this on, I think, Switch.
Okay.
Which, as much as I love my Steam Deck, it honestly looks a little bit better on Switch. But I played it maybe a year or so after it came out, and I remember that being one of my huge takeaways was just how jaw-dropping gorgeous it looked. Sorry, go on.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just as I bring up the video I dropped in our Discord Game Club chat over on the TVGP Discord. It was really neat watching how they built it and how they come up with an idea and even the guy showing his initial idea is like, yeah, it looks really bad. It looks really bad. But the initial idea, I'm like, actually, that looks super good. You could have made a game that looked like that. I would have been like, oh man, this is really visually creative. But evidently, they used some famous Spanish artist out there who would kind of feed them stuff, and they came up with real inventive ways on how to manage their budget with it. But between that and the music, like it
Oh, the music.
kind of
Oh man.
Mhm.
floors you.
Yeah, because
I mean,
go ahead, man.
it's also incredible the fact that it's the word for grey is the name of the title, which is appropriate considering the theme of the game, the context of the game, and the fact that you're on this journey to overcome depression, sadness, however you wanna look at it. The fact that they add more colors into the world as it goes is just so special and so spectacularly done. Where it's like, oh, now those plants have like a slight bit of green on them. Now they have the red shading and everything else put on them. It's just like, okay, this is phenomenally done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
starting the game, I was like, dang, this game looks really great. Like this kind of bold grayscale color to it. Like it's really evoking a lot. And almost immediately you unlock your first color. I was like, oh, yep, okay. Now I see what we're doing. This is really something incredible. And I think the thing that really struck me from a game design perspective, because I think you hear a lot about this game's design and its music and stuff like that, and understandably, and I think it deserves all of that. But I think from a game design perspective, it's really interesting because it feels very accessible. It took me a little while to realize that there really are no fail states in the game. There's always a safety net. There's always something there to either kind of catch you as the player or send you back around in a loop to say like, all right, you should try this again. You should do this again. And as someone who's played games for most of my life, you can see a lot of the puzzles that normally come up where it's like, oh, okay, well, every time I jump, the platforms switch states. Okay, now I need to do this, or oh, these platforms weren't here before, but now it's raining, so now these trees that were invisible now look like their water is cascading down them. Okay, now I know how to get through this area. But a lot of it's not just a game that I think is really striking from an artistic standpoint, but I think from a game design standpoint, it's really, really interesting of here is a platformer that is very accessible and presented in such an interesting sort of friendly way, which a lot of the platformers aren't necessarily.
Also, 0 words throughout the entire game. It teaches you everything
True.
you need to know through context.
Yep. There's only like one word every once in a while when a button will pop up and it will say hold, but that's it. So like that's pretty incredible. I will also share, I'm a sucker for anything on the PS5 that uses the speaker in the controller. In this game used it quite a
Tell me
bit.
it was the singing.
The singing was the last thing it used, where it's kind of echoes between the TV and the controller. But a lot of it was environmental stuff of when you disturb birds and they fly off, that comes out of the controller. The little kind of like black like sprite animals, the little like beep, 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 that comes out of your controller too. Like a lot of the little things that when you step on the constellations, every time she steps, that little noise comes out of your controller as well. Really, really well done. I like a lot when games do that kind of understated, kind of small effects on top of it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, I did immediately say go to about halfway through this game. I did go to YouTube and saved a playlist of the soundtrack so I could come back to it later in the year.
Yep.
Because, oh boy,
Yeah.
like they timed like musically wise, they timed the big hits so well. So the thing I loved in Small Hike is that one piece of music timed to perfection
Hmm.
to tell the story of the moment. And I think they do that like a good 2 or 3 times in this game, where it's just like a big musical bit will hit, but it's perfectly timed to scale with what's going on at the time. It's Normandy Reborn all over again.
Well, it's interesting because when I was doing a little bit of research today on the game, the kind of elevator pitch when they were designing the game is they wanted it to be a quote a mix of Journey and Ori and the Blind Forest end quote. Um, and the musical stuff reminds me so much of Journey. Of like, here's this big important thing you're doing, like Journey when you slide down, your first kind of sand dune thing where you're doing the skating, which there's some stuff in here that feels very similar. You have that kind of big musical crescendo, and I think that's what Grease does really well. Of like, you're running away from a giant moray eel that's trying to chomp you, and the music kind of rises and falls. When it falls, when you've escaped it, that's a really great moment. And then it busts back through the kind of ocean floor, and the music, kicks up even more intensely than it did before. That's where I think this game kind of marries its visuals and the action and the soundtrack really, really perfectly.
Yeah, I was really having a hard time having my critical brain on for this podcast while playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'd forgotten so much of it. And it's also going to be hard for me not to just constantly reference that YouTube video. But one of the things they said in that keynote they delivered in that YouTube video was using music as a reward,
Mm.
which very much happened. Like, and evidently that started like fairly early on, where I guess the person wrote the music and sent it in, and they were like, "Oh wow, this is so much better than I thought it was going to be."
We got to make something cool for this song.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um,
I
it really is. I guess I could say, like, I am not a platformer person at
Mhm.
all, really. Like, mostly I tolerate, how do I put it? I really like Metroidvanias, and that's about the extent of my platforming. But
Mm.
like Ori, for instance, goes a little bit too requiring me to do accurate jumps, and
Oh,
that is
sure.
where platforming tends to lose me a lot. And to me, this is like my perfect platformer. And I know they weren't aiming for like they were wanting non-gamers to kind of come into this game and be able to play through it.
Mhm.
But I highly appreciate it, being able to kind of go on a journey with this game and not be hindered by my inability to make a jump.
You mentioned
Um,
putting on your critical hat. I do have some small issues with this game overall. I think this is just a personal sort of thing that I think once you get to the end of the game and you've kind of done that very cool upside down where you're kind of flipping between right side up and upside down. Um, when the game at that part gives you that really large final area and says like, all right, you got to get like 6 constellation pieces before you can kind of get to the ending. By that point, even though I played this game in, I think it was 3 or 4 sessions, I didn't do it all in one session. By that point, I was kind of done with the game. So the
Yeah.
idea of, I didn't mind most of the other times the game would do that, where it'd be like, all right, here's a, a little area where you're clearly going to get a new power or something. You need to get 2 stars or whatever they call them. They're going to sort of be on opposite ends of this. You're going to solve 2 puzzles and then keep going your way. For them to say like, all right, you got to get 6 this time, I'm like, yeah, I kind of just want to see the end of this game. So
Yeah.
you putting in a larger roadblock here at the end felt a little bit frustrating. I think the end of the game eventually kind of the big kind of like falling down into the dark area, I think was a solid payoff, but that felt like a little bit of a larger roadblock than I was expecting. I was like, oh man, come on. I just want to show me the cool ending.
It is long in the tooth, in my opinion. And I know it's me calling a 4-hour game. I know they like to say it's a 3-hour game, but it is a 4-hour game. It
Yeah.
was 4 hours the first time I played it. I did not manage to beat it again. I just got to the upside down place, and I completely forgot about the upside down place in general. I was like, "Oh, I'm close. Oh no, I'm not."
Yeah, I got one more area. Oh man.
Yeah, like I feel like they could have, and I'm not sure what they trim. Maybe they take out one of the colors or just mash it down, but it yeah, it goes on longer than it needs to. But like that said, there are quite a few puzzles where even like so when I got to the underwater area, I'd forgotten about that too, and I was like, oh crap, I thought I was there. Um,
Yeah.
and but like solving the underwater puzzles, like I felt pretty clever. Like whenever you're, oh, I got to grab these little red guys and then jump above the water and then launch myself in the air, and oh, I can't quite make it.
Yeah,
Oh
that
wait, here's a
felt good.
passage over here. Like
Yeah.
there's
And
yeah.
I think a lot of it too was me looking forward to seeing how they were going to wrap it up, because
Yeah.
I think going into the game I wasn't really expecting there to be as much story as there was, especially with the main character and the statues and the colors coming back, and there's a pretty clear dealing with some sort of grief of some sort. So for me, as I'm feeling like the game is kind of coming to a close or a crescendo or whatever, to have one more kind of speed bump in the way is like, man, yeah, but I really want to see how they're going to close this game. Like, how are you going to make how are you going to finish this thing up? And to have that there was sort of like, man, come on, I'm so close. All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's just finish this up. All right.
Yeah. It's yeah, I don't know. It really isn't a game that I don't know. That Moon, did you beat it in one sitting or did you kind of
No.
ration it out? Okay.
I think I beat her over like 7 or 8 sittings.
Oh, wow.
It was I have 20 minutes. I'm gonna go until the little saving thing appears in the corner.
Right.
Because let me tell you, when you lose some progress in checkpointing, it's not great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
It
wish
was,
there was kind of more to talk about this game, but it's kind of this interesting experience where it's a really great match of, I think, smart game design, beautiful graphics, incredible soundtrack, and all of it comes together in a really strong way that I think isn't necessarily super story driven. It does have a story, and it does have a lot of, for me it was a lot more like vibes based, of like, oh yeah, cool,
Yeah.
we're in the blue zone, now it's raining, oh now we're underwater, cool, now we're flipping up and down and doing some, I did like a lot of the puzzles where you sort of have to like come out of the upside down area to do some platforming in the right side area to jump back up to the upside down, and you're kind of like flipping back and forth, and that was pretty cool. That was some cool design, but like a lot of it is just like, hey man, that was a cool game to play, you should go play this cool game.
And like it's broken up really nicely. Like I know you said you had some issues with the end, Boston. I didn't really run into that too much, and it could just be the way I was playing.
Right.
But I like the fact that there's the achievement hunter in me hates this, but the fact that there's little hidden areas and the glyphs, and
Right.
every area has a special challenge that you can do to do something like for an achievement. I got the apples achievement without even meaning to, which is you
Right.
feed the little forest guy all of the apples.
Mm-hmm.
And I just did that because it felt good to see him run behind me and then go yum 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 yum
Yeah,
yum on
he was
those
pumped
apples.
eating those apples.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was such a cute sidekick. I kind of wish they'd had, like, especially in the underwater, I think it was the underwater place, where you start walking by things and more things are a little, like, skittering. I was hoping you get more buddies. And granted, the turtle's pretty freaking rad. But
Yeah, turtles cool as hell.
Well, I got some good news for you, Musum. That sequel is all about a sidekick that you have.
That's right. That's right.
I,
Neva
you know,
and her giant wolf of the forest or whatever.
Oh
Mhm.
man,
Yeah.
oh man, I like dogs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the
And
wolf
I did
puppy
buy
at the start.
Yeah.
I did buy the package for it
Oh, there you
whenever
go.
it was on sale over December. So
Check for a future
um,
Game Club episode where we play Neva, their next game.
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts here for Gris, a game that is cool, that is a little hard to talk about in kind of a positive way?
Yeah, I do like the themes. Like I
Yeah.
will say, I do like the way it's representing the whole dealing with grief and loss kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that the hidden statues that you can find is all based on the stages of dealing with death.
Right.
Um, I think it plays to its themes really well, and again, without really using any words at all.
Yeah. It's very good. Any final thoughts here, Musim?
I think one of the reasons this game is so hard to talk about is because it's almost like a really popular Marvel movie. And you're like, so Iron Man is this inventor, but like so much of this criticism has already been kind of laid out and complimented. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
what is a new thought I could add to the conversation? I don't necessarily know that I have one, but it's a gorgeous game. It's very short. You can probably pick it up for a song and a dance.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't do songs and dances, then you could probably get your animal to do one, and it would still count. um, like I'd recommend just if you like Journey, especially in kind of the that game company's style of
Yeah.
kind of short, really artsy experiences, then go grab this because this thing is absolutely up your alley. It is, this game came out in 2018. Its animation still, is jaw dropping.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It has a very distinct art style and really inventive things with the colors, and its music is amazing. So it's made by a very small team.
Yeah.
Um, so I love this game. I think even if you have listened to the podcast and ignored our spoiler warning and listened to it, like you are still clueless and should go play.
Yeah, we've only really scratched the surface of, and like Moon and I watched a movie on critical misses during our anime season that was sort of best expressed as an experience, and I think that's really
Mhm.
what Grease is. It's like you can watch
And that
somebody
is
play
young.
it. Yeah, yeah. You can watch someone play it, and that'd be fine. But like, it really is such a cool experience to play and enjoy. So
Yeah.
go check that out. Once again, our next game is going to be Citizen Sleeper 2. We'll talk about that late in February. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you all next month. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.